Hi, my name is Allison Moore, and I'm going to tell you my story through juggling. Well, a very important part of my story is sports. I love sports, I've played sports, and I've coached sports for most of my life. The sports that I played mostly when I was growing up were volleyball, basketball, and softball. I loved those sports, I was good at them, got straight A's, did really well until college, and that's when everything fell apart. At that point, what happened was I became an extreme perfectionist, and as a result, I became miserable. Everything I did, it had to be perfect or I could never be happy, so basically I was never happy. I turned that misery inward and I became anorexic, and I struggled with anorexia for several years, had a really hard time keeping everything in line, had a really hard time keeping everything together. Finally, I was tired of being sick and tired, so I decided to get my life back on track. At that point, I became a follower of Christ, which was an extremely important decision for me. But then I also decided that I needed to be able to accept myself for who I was. I needed to be able to accept my body and start being healthy once again, which I was able to do over time. Now, a little bit later on, I became a teacher and a coach, and then as a result of a job change, I met my husband, Brian, and that was the most wonderful thing that ever happened to me. Brian's taking the video right now, so maybe he can say hi. And then, shortly after we got married, October 26, 2002, we started a family, and after several years, we had two wonderful boys, Ben and Luke. So they're going to make their little entrance right here. You'll get to see Ben and Luke as they come through and say hi. That was Ben, and here comes Luke. Oh my, yep, there he goes. You need to hurry, Luke. Go, buddy. Okay, so Ben and Luke come into our lives, and after a few years, everything turns back to sports again, because my boys happen to love sports as well. So now we are dealing with soccer and basketball and baseball. So we're back to the sports thing, and we're loving that. But once again, we can't always keep it together and be perfect. We just do the best that we can. Well, since I love sports so much, I decided that I needed to get myself back in shape after having my kids. I lost the 55 pounds that I had gained when I had my kids, and the problem was I still had this muffin top. Everybody's familiar with that term. I had this fat around my waist that I could not get rid of, and I worked really hard running, but that didn't get me any results whatsoever. So finally, I found this program called P90X, and my husband and I did P90X. I loved it, and since I am a person who's always looking for a challenge, I started Insanity, and I did that several times. Long story short, I lost 4.5 inches off my waist, my muffin top is gone, and I feel great. Then I found out that with Beachbody, I could become a coach with Beachbody, and I could help other people find the great results that I had found with P90X and Insanity and T25 and other programs. So I jumped right into that and got started with the Beachbody coaching program, because I've always enjoyed helping people and I've always enjoyed sports and fitness. Well, the point was that I had to keep my focus and make sure that I was always keeping my priorities straight. Every now and then I would mess up and I would drop a ball or I would drop a focus, but I always tried to keep my family first, because that's really important to me more than anything else. Now, to wrap things up, I want to tell you a little bit about goal setting. So with goal setting and with keeping my priorities straight, what I do every day is I try to make sure that I keep my juggling simple, and I try to make sure that I try to take one step at a time, or sometimes one bite at a time. So that's what works for me, and if I get going too fast, I'm likely to mess things up and drop a ball once again in my juggling of all my responsibilities. So the best thing to do is to make sure I take one bite at a time. So that's my advice to you, is to make sure you know what your main priorities are. Keep your goals in front of you at all times. Make sure that you don't take on too much, and just take it one bite at a time as you go after your goals. So that is my story in juggling, and I would love to talk to you more about it. Thanks.